Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Welcome to the Art of Moving Boxes. I'm James Goldman, and I appreciate you spending a part of your day with me. Whether you're joining from a warehouse floor, a distribution center, an office, a truck cab, a break room, or watching the replay, um, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I truly do. As you are joining, let me know where you are watching from and what part of the industry you are from or you are in the chat. We have the chat set up. Please go ahead and ask questions. If I can't get it on this show, I can get it on the next show. I will be taking questions at the end of the show for Q&A. And so please put your thoughts, put your opinions. I want to hear it. So I've spent nearly 30 years in warehouse operations, supply chain, and WMS implementations. I've worked on the floor, I've led teams, I've directed distribution centers, I have helped companies recover troubled projects, I've seen projects go well, and I've seen projects go sideways. For the last 18 years, I've been running my company, my services company, Warehouse Advisory Group, JGA, and we have done probably, and then within my entire career, probably done a few hundred implementations. And so I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, I've seen the ugly. One thing that you will learn about me is that I have just a simple style. It's no BS. I'm not here to embarrass companies. I not here to create drama. I am not here to be negative for the sake of being negative, but I'm also not going to sugarcoat the reality. Um, you know, I feel sometimes that the distribution center, the warehouse floor is treated like a black box. I think that people truly don't know um, what's going on within the four walls of the facilities. I grew up in distribution. I was originally an operator and then got into IT, but and then the system side of it. But I truly saw within my career what actually happens in the warehouse, and I think there's quite a disconnect. I think that people who are learning supply chain in school or in college, have a limited view of what goes on within the four walls of the distribution center. Um, I recently just published two books, The Warehouse Never Lies and The Art of Moving Boxes. And I was sending copies out to different academic institutions and professors. And one of the comments I got is that there's not enough focus on what actually happens in the warehouse. People blame, you know, transportation. People blame transportation. People blame procurement, but people don't know how the warehouse impacts everything downstream and upstream. So this show is about real operations, real lessons, real results. So my topic today is is my first topic is going to be the warehouse never lies, and that's really the premise of this entire show. Not just this show, but the series, my YouTube channel, the Art of Moving Boxes. Everything is based and predicated on the warehouse never lies.
Alive.
This
We're
phrase
running
means a
this
lot to
live
me.
stream
I have
tonight.
seen it prove itself over and over again. Reports can be wrong, dashboards can be misleading, project updates can sound cleaner than the actual operations. Meetings can make people feel comfortable. And trust me, I've sat through thousands of these meetings. But when the work has to move, reality shows up, and the warehouse always tells the truth. The floor tells the truth. It shows if your processes are weak. It shows if where your
Run.
training didn't stick. It shows where your inventory accuracy is not real. It shows where your leadership accepted the shortcuts, and also shows where the system is being blamed for the process problem. And it shows where people are carrying the operation instead of the operation being properly uh, aligned and designed. Uh, and that's why I say the warehouse never lies. It may not always tell you what you want to hear. Trust me on that one, but it'll always show you what is actually happening. So a lot of this is predicated on early in my career when I was a young director for a major retail company. I had a consultant assigned to work with me. And that experience absolutely changed the way I look at operations. I mean, I grew up as an operator. I understand one thing, a couple things about the operation is operators, they tell the truth. If you ask the floor, it's like truth serum, what's actually going on. You know, Sometimes you may not like what you hear, but 99% of the time it's factual. And the experience of having Dennis, and I'll call him out by his first name because he had a major impact. You know, he he taught me a lot of. He taught me two really important lessons, and one was do three things right instead of 10 things mediocre. And then he told me about you know checking with the floor. So he would ask me questions like about the warehouse. I would give him the answer, which I believe was right. I did.
Didn't start for evil.
Sometimes the answer was based upon what I thought. Sometimes the answer was based upon what I heard from leadership. Sometimes it was based on what the reports say that we read in our daily meetings and the reports that I got. Sometimes it was based on what the meeting said. A lot of times it was based upon what the meeting said. And then he would do something very simple. He would say, let's go ask the floor. And that line stuck with me. So let's go ask the floor. Let's go talk to the floor. So he would take me straight out to the warehouse and he would ask operations the same question. He would ask the receivers, he would ask the pickers, he would ask the supervisors, he would ask the people actually doing the work. And many times the answer from the floor was different. And I'm not going to say that it was embarrassing, because at the level that I was at, a director level, you know, um, I did not, um, you know, I told Dennis based upon, like I said, the meetings, the reports, working with my colleagues, but many of the times the answer from the floor was definitely different. Um, so I wasn't embarrassed, but the whole situation was very humbling. Nobody was lying. Leadership wasn't always wrong. Um,
Sure,
but the floor really had the real operating truth. The
lunch my
floor
game
knew where the
documents.
process was broken. The floor knew where the workaround was. The floor knew what the report did not show.
Uh,
The floor knew
I understand
what
why
people were
not.
doing just to keep the operation moving. And that taught me something important. You can learn a lot from a meeting. You can learn a lot from a report. You can learn a lot from your leaders. But you really want to know is what's happening on the floor. That changed my whole perspective on the way I did things. I mean, I would, from that point on, like I said, it's not that I was embarrassed. I mean, I certainly felt uncomfortable about the
But
situation, but the way I am is that going forward, that wasn't going to happen anymore. And I really, from that point on, if I had a question, I would walk out on the floor and I would talk to the operators and I would talk to the way planners and I would talk to the supervisors and I would talk to the shipping office, receiving office, and I would get the answers, to my questions directly from the floor. And yeah, it kept me out of a lot of hot water, but it took up to the point that Dennis coming in, kind of pointing that out, that where the reality where really stands. So, ask the people doing the work. Watch how the work actually moves. That is what I learned from the warehouse never lies. That lesson stayed with me. It shaped me how I looked at warehouse operations, and it shaped how I looked at WMS implementations as well. It shaped me on how I looked at go lives. It shaped me on how I looked at leadership, because the truth is the warehouse is usually telling you something before the reports actually catch up, and the warning signs are there. They show up first in very small ways: misscans, inventory adjustments, overtime. Overtime's bad. Don't ever let anybody tell you that overtime is good, and we'll talk about that. Overtime is not good. Workarounds. Workarounds are bad. Um, supervisors fixing the problem manually. And then the worst thing you can ever hear from the floor, and that's just how we do it. Order, that's if you hear that, that's concerning. It's always been concerning. That's just how we do it. Order shipping because of the hero effort instead of a good process. Um, yeah, we'll talk about um, the hero, the hero effort. Heroes are not good. I mean, heroes are good, but depending on one or two people to hold up your entire operation, that is not good. It's not a good process, you know. And then receiving falling behind, replenishment problems, pickers waiting, pickers backed up, shipping scrambling at the end of the day. Those are just not warehouse issues. Those are business signals. They tell you how the company is really operating. And the warehouse is not just where boxes move, the warehouse is where business truth really becomes visible. So let me give you an example. I was working in so I was on a process improvement team, and we were the pig team, process improvement gurus. We were able to carry on with that name for a couple of years, and then it became PC, and we had to stop with the pig acronym. But one of the things that we did is we went. So I was doing implementations, but we were also going in to different operations at a manufacturing company that I work for, and we were just going and doing optimization and doing process improvement. Um, and I had a team of engineers, I had a team of operators, and one particular uh, project that we were doing, I was working a project in a warehouse in Georgia, and we were analyzing the corrugate usage on the floor. The question was simple, you know, were we using the right boxes for the right work? So we're sitting around the table, and it's like, um, you know, are we, we had a supervisor there, the managers, facility DC director, and it's like, are we using the right boxes for the right work? And sometimes, and the responses vary, but the one that came out was, uh, well, sometimes we're not. Well, why not? Because we always do it that way. And, which is not again, that is probably one of the worst statements in warehouse and distribution that you can hear. But so we spent 2 days reviewing what was actually happened. We watched the floor. We looked how operators were packing items. We looked at what containers the items were slotted for. And what we found was simple but expensive. Operators were putting very small items into break pack boxes. Um, in some cases, they were using much larger boxes than they needed. Now, what's interesting is that even today, I will get a package from, I'm a I'm a junkie when it comes to buying stuff from. I hate to use the word, hate to say it. I'm not calling them out, but I'm saying I use Amazon, eBay, Rakuten, whatever, Wayfair, whatever I'm using. I'm not saying that these guys are the issue. All I'm saying is that I use delivery and I shop online. I'm a huge online shopper, and all these that I mentioned are great companies, and I enjoy my shopping experience. But once in a while, you will get a package. I'll order a pair of headphones, and it'll come in a huge box. And so, sometimes it's still happening, today. But like I said, in some cases, they were using a much larger box than needed. The items had a right size container available. They had the containers available, but the operation had fallen into the habit of using a bigger box. Um, and this could be based on the operator too. And it could be based on. There's a lot of different reasons why. It could be training. It could be we're not stocking the boxes, so pickers are moving. They're moving fast. You guys know you're packing out at a pack out station and something's not there, and you're just going to grab another box, just going to hold your grid up on the table. Um, but